So you mean to tell me that we have for years been complaining about cancel culture? We've been complaining that people just can't even have a different form of opinion without being canceled. We've been hearing that the right calls everybody snowflakes because everyone's sensitive. And the moment we watch this year's halftime show, it just all blows up. This is Mari Sin Censura. Let's talk about Bad Bunny's performance because, oh my God, did you guys have a lot to say about it to us. Así que, vamos para allá. So as you guys all know, Bad Bunny last night took on the biggest American stage a musician could possibly take. And of course, that was the Super Bowl halftime show. And wow, ay Dios mío! Oh my God. Did this become so insanely political? And I'm not even talking about the performance. I'm talking about all the commentary around the performance because, to be quite honest, the performance wasn't that bad. Because you see, for months now, ever since it was announced that Bad Bunny was a performer, we have been hearing nonstop political commentary because, of course, that's what America is now. Everything is political. Every single thing is political. We've been hearing for the past few months that how, God forbid, that Bad Bunny speaks in Spanish, all Spanish, at a halftime show, at an American halftime show. God forbid, Bad Bunny doesn't particularly like this current administration and says a few things here and there about the current administration. God forbid Bad Bunny has a different viewpoint on immigration. God forbid Bad Bunny plays at the Super Bowl halftime show. Let me just say that I posted a video last night of Yoel and I dancing to one of the songs, and wow, what I thought would be a really kind of positive way to unite both kind of ideologies together turned into a literal shit show on my comment page. Because if you go through the comments, it's these people who hate me because I don't speak enough about whatever issue, and they come out with their pitchforks because I don't speak enough about this certain issue. And then you have the other side of the aisle that hates me because I even watched the show to begin with. I'm like, what is going on, America? What is going on, America? So for me, this halftime show wasn't that big of a deal. And really, all of the commentary surrounding it is so silly. Almost as silly as things we see from the left. Let me explain why. Because the first thing that we got bombarded with when Bad Bunny was first announced at the Super Bowl was that how can somebody who doesn't speak English or doesn't have English songs go on stage for an American TV show, an American show? Football is American. The Super Bowl is American. Everything about it is USA ride or die. So how can we accept somebody that doesn't speak English, only has Spanish-speaking songs to be allowed to go on the stage? And to that I say, first of all, it's inconvenient that Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican. Because Puerto Ricans, whether conservatives, whether Ben Shapiro, whether Matt Walsh, whether Benny Johnson, like it or not, Puerto Ricans are Americans. And just like every single subculture in America, Puerto Ricans have their own subculture. In the Appalachians, there's Appalachian. Am I saying that right? Appalachian, whatever. There's that culture. In the South, they have their own kind of different subcultures. In California, Northern California, and then Southern California have different subcultures. The Pacific Northwest, New York, New England, Miami, anywhere you go in the middle America has so many different subcultures. And honestly, if you guys watch our channel, Yoel and Mari, our other page, that's exactly what we are showing to the world. We're showing that there's so many different subcultures in America, but that's what Yoel and I show to the world. We show all of these different subcultures because in the effort of discovering America, discovering everything that's so beautiful about America, that's what we want to show to Americans and to the world. So Puerto Rico is no different. Puerto Rico has their own identity, their own culture, their own, and in this case, their own language. When the United States acquired Puerto Rico in I can't remember exactly what the date is, forgive me, 1904, 1905, from the Spanish-American War, yeah, Puerto Rico already had its deep embedded culture, and that is Spanish. Their language is Spanish. They speak Spanish. So whether or not you like it, Puerto Ricans are Americans. And the second big point is, I'll say that the NFL is not the only international championship. We have World Cup, we have FIFA, we have various other international championships all over the globe. And American artists perform in their shows. American artists who speak English go all around the world touring, giving concerts, participating in local championships, participating in the World Cup, in FIFA, and they all speak English. In fact, the entire world knows English language musicians. They know American musicians. They know American music. Something that maybe you guys don't know about me is that when I was 18 years old, I spent a summer in Africa. And I couldn't speak their language and they couldn't speak mine. And, we were always like, I had to ask for the translator that was there that could help us in both of the languages so they could help us. But the moment that we put on Michael Jackson, you know that those kids were dancing. They knew every single line to Michael Jackson's songs. And why is that? Why is that? Because American culture is so dominant and so powerful all over the world that even a poor kid in the middle of this African country knew who Michael Jackson was. And even though he didn't understand a word that Michael Jackson was saying, a word of the lyrics, he couldn't probably just pronounce some of the words that he can hear, right? He didn't know what he was saying. And even though he didn't know the language, he loved it. We could all dance. And that's what united us. And it was such a beautiful moment. That and Bob Marley. Bob Marley was very big and popular when I was there as well. And we all knew the songs. We all knew the songs. So I say to the conservatives or people who are thinking this, what's the difference between that, Michael Jackson, and Bad Bunny? What's the difference when Pitbull went to go sing in the World Cup for their halftime show and Bad Bunny doing the same? There isn't. Language, it shouldn't be a barrier to music because music, you can dance to the rhythm without even knowing any of the songs. When I was also 18, a fun fact, my first dabble into the social media world was creating a blog called Worldwide Vibes, where I searched out genres all over the world and I talked about the music and then the history, the political history of that country with the music, and I loved it. It was one of my favorite things I've ever done. I'm still kind of pissed that I kind of abandoned it when I went to college and stuff, but I loved it. I loved seeking out, and it was much harder those days to seek out different genre, way harder, let me tell you. But I loved seeing like where bossa nova came from. I had a whole playlist of Middle Eastern music. I had Bollywood. I had Swedish punk rock. I loved it. I loved it. I loved all of these genres. You can honestly, my playlist is quite insane. If anybody sees it, they're like, "You're Cuban." No, but I loved different genres and different, and I don't think the language is such a big deal. I don't think it really is. And focusing on him only speaking Spanish or not speaking English, it doesn't do anything to calm these allegations that the right and all of the right is racist. Because I know, because I've met so many beautiful conservatives that the left says would hate us because we're Cuban or would hate my husband because he's an immigrant, welcome us. shown us America, given us beautiful experiences. And I know in the bottom of my heart, many people on the right are not racist. They don't come from a place of hating us because we speak Spanish or hating us because we're immigrants. No. I mean, we get these comments all the time that we don't hate you because you're an illegal, we don't hate you because you're an immigrant. We just like that you did it the legal way. I understand that. But when you focus on the Spanish, when you focus on, oh, he doesn't speak English, he doesn't, it doesn't help that cause at all. And something else that doesn't help that cause is his political positions. Now, we live in one of the most beautiful countries in the entire world that was set up by millions and millions of people who defended our right to have free speech. Does Bad Bunny represent me politically? No, mi amor, he sure does not. He sure does not represent me politically. I don't look for Bad Bunny for my political positions at all, okay? I look towards Milton Friedman, Friedrich Hayek, Ludwig von Mises, these great philosophers for my political discernment and my political ideology. I don't particularly search out, what does Bad Bunny have to say about X, Y, and Z? Or what does Kid Rock have to say about X, Y, and Z? I could really give two shits about what Kid Rock thinks or what Bad Bunny thinks. I don't care because I make my own decisions with my own research and my own perception and values. And so should you, right? And your values are not the same as mine, and your ideas probably aren't the same as mine. Maybe right now you're just like, oh, Marissa's so wrong. Mari, you don't know what you're talking about. Right? But you have the right to do that, right? You have the right to say that. And I respect it. In fact, I encourage it. Put it down below. Subscribe also and put it down below. But what I'm trying to say is that, yes, Bad Bunny has different viewpoints. He's made it clear a few times here and there that he doesn't particularly like the immigration policy. He doesn't particularly like how the United States has its policy towards Puerto Rico. He doesn't like the tax loops that are happening in Puerto Rico. And whether or not I agree with it or not, so what? So what? As long as he's not shoving it down our faces and using the halftime show to say all of that, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. And to be honest, you guys, the halftime show, he was pretty tame. He was pretty tame because even though that there was references of, no, America is the entire continent, in American terms, 2 continents, because you guys learned that they're 2 separate continents, but in Latin America, it's 1 continent. Anyways, even though he gave that little nod at the end, the show was relatively fine. He was dancing. There was a lot of symbolisms of Puerto Rican culture. There's a lot of that, is part of America, like I said. There was a lot of symbolisms of Caribbean culture, of things that, norms that Latin people do in the United States, like waking up the kid from the party, little things like that here and there. But relatively, it was a really nice show. It was great. It was great dancing with Yoel. It was great having a great time with my family, our friends that were at the party, and everybody loved it. Everybody thought that he did such a good job. And in that room, there were people who are super anti-Trump, to people like I'm not going to say who, but are MAGA 100%. And we all got along that day, and we all thought Bad Bunny did a great job. Now, the one thing I will say to the conservatives and to other people who are watching me right now is, yes, is there a conversation to be had of what multiculturalism means? Yes, I think there is a space, and maybe I'll do this another video to show, is it really multiculturalism if we just create separate communities within one giant community? Or is the point of multiculturalism to bring other cultures in to assimilate to a larger culture, right? And that is a conversation that we can have, because I think, ironically, and this might seem controversial, pero bueno, esto mari sin censura, that Puerto Ricans, like Bad Bunny, have more in common with the right than people might think. Bad Bunny wants to preserve Puerto Rican identity. He wants to preserve Puerto Rican-ness, Latinidad, vamos a decir. He wants to, maintain that, but so do Americans. So do Americans in America. maybe people who subscribe to MAGA. They both have, they want to preserve their cultural identity. They want to preserve what America is. They want to preserve what is Puerto Rican. And both have similar outlooks when you think about that. And I think that is something that we could talk about later that is a little bit more deep and a little bit more philosophical. So really, like I said earlier, does it do any justice that we keep harping on, oh, well, he only speaks Spanish. Oh, well, he doesn't like America, when the right themselves has been trying to create this bigger tent, have trying to create this space where people don't feel like if they have a difference of opinion, they're not going to be, pitched, forked, and thrown to the wolves like the left does if you don't agree 100% with what their cause is of the day is, right? So a lot of people came from the left looking for sanity and refuge on the right, only to now see that the right is also participating in a way in this kind of nonsense. It doesn't do the right any justice that they keep harping on these cultural arguments all the time, these culture war moments all the time. It doesn't do anything for you. And honestly, for me, that's somebody who I like to stick with my principles of freedom and liberty and libertarianism. I love to stick with those principles. When I see this happening, it's like, oh my God, human nature being human nature. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle, because they all mimic each other at the end of the day. And this is just one of those examples. So for me, Benito did an amazing job. He did an incredible job. I cried when I saw Ricky Martin. I literally, I held back tears because I knew Yoel would make fun of me. But I was like my 12-year-old girl again. Ricky Martin! Could not believe I could see Ricky Martin. I was so happy to see him. He did a great job, and it was really a great unifying moment for America that I think America desperately needs. And conservatives, please, I understand where you came from. I understand your thoughts, but come on, let's just have fun. He did have a nod to Celia Cruz in there. It was very subtle and brief, but I really respected that. I really loved that. It was a beautiful moment for America. So conservatives, let it go, have fun. Baila un poquito. Dale, esto es Mari sin censura. Suscríbete. No te puedo olvidar. No te puedo borrar. Tú me enseñaste a creer. Me enseñaste a bailar como tú no besabas, como yo te decía, como tú me mirabas. ¡Ey! Sé que decía, oye, agua, Cuba y Puerto Rico. Dale, para allá. Dale.